This video provides an overview of my 1972 Porsche Targa. The car was purchased originally in Vancouver in September of 1972. The original owner was a car enthusiast who came up the usual route through a number of British and Italian cars, including a TBR Tuscan. And when he first bought the 911, he really fell in love with both the car and with Porsche, to the extent that he actually petitioned Porsche Club of America to allow him to set up the first Porsche region outside of the United States. He owned the car until I bought it in 2008, but for the last 17 years it was parked in the back of his garage. And so I bought it and then had to do a bit of a resurrection, which we'll talk about in a minute. Now, the original owner was quite an enthusiast for driver's education days and for autocrossing, so he made a number of changes to the car over the years, which I'll talk about briefly as I walk around the car. Now, in terms of the suspension, you probably won't be able to see it here, but the brake calipers are Hurst Earhart units that were used in Trans Am racing in the 70s, and they're huge. They're a 4-piston unit, and they're bigger than the Brembos that are still sold to go under the 15-inch wheels. There'll be some better pictures of them inside in the photo gallery. I should note the wheels also. They are 7-inch Fuchs all around, and the car has sports Bilsteins, front and rear sway bars, and handles extremely well. There've been a lot of comments on the site about how tail-happy early 911s are, and this one is, in an autocross, actually just about as stable as my Boxster S was for autocrossing, so the setup has worked extremely well. Now, going to some of the changes made to the car, you'll notice that the grills and the turn signal surrounds on this car are black. In fact, in '72 they were chrome, and the previous owner kept the original turn signals and grills, so I have all that. The spoiler, you'll notice, is the 911S spoiler, and this is a genuine Porsche steel unit. It's not one of the aftermarket fiberglass units. And the headlights, you'll notice, are H4s, and should anyone really want them, I still have the H2s available. So coming around this side, I wanted to show you that the car has always been in Vancouver, but it was never a daily driver, and it was never used in the winter. It was basically parked all winter, so it doesn't have any of the tinworm problems. And you'll find, because our climate is much milder than you find in California, the interior, the dash, the seals and things like that are basically all still the original Porsche products that came with the car, and they stand up extremely well. Here's a quick picture of the dash. You know, there are no cracks or problems like that. The carpeting, you'll see, is the original. It has some wear for the footrest, if you like, and a bit on the side carpeting, but is in really good condition, as are the doors and the door pockets and things like that. And again, you can see the back seat looks very nice, ignoring the stuff I still have underneath the seats. But the interesting thing in terms of modifications that John did with the car are really back here in the motor. When John first got the car, he built it as he rebuilt the engine as a 2.4 liter E, but it still didn't have enough horsepower for him. So through personal contacts, he got Kremer in Germany to build him a 2.4 liter 911S motor, which is what's in the car at this point. And according to the documentation from Kremer, it puts out 210 horsepower, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The last modification you can see is the exhaust system, and what happened here in the 70s is people discovered that you could drill into the factory muffler and add 2 pipes and get the same power increase that you would expect from a sport muffler, but at the same time you can convert from sport muffler back to normal muffler. But my joke is that in a new Porsche, if you want the sports muffler, you push a button. In this car, if you want the sports muffler, you get out a 10mm wrench. So let's just start the motor for a sec, and then I'll talk a bit more about it. I have to say the car has been amazingly reliable in the 10 years that I have owned it. We basically, when we pulled it out of the John's garage, I had thought I would be able to get it up and running for about $5,000. That goes down in history as one of the more optimistic estimates. In fact, we ended up having to do a total rebuild of the motor, basically taking it right down, splitting the crank, new bearings, new pistons and cylinders, 12 new valves, new rockers, new rocker shafts, and we updated the case at the same time. We time sorted all the studs, and then we added the piston oil squirters, which were standard by 72 but weren't in the 69 case that this is built on. And we also added a bearing to the back of the intermediate shaft because Porsche had some trouble with the original design of that. In addition to the motor, brakes are totally new, new master cylinder, new rear calipers, and for the front calipers I had to basically get stainless steel pistons machined for the Hurst-Ehrhardt calipers because parts aren't available from Hurst. And the fuel system was totally redone. So this is basically the car. There's more detail in the write-up and in the gallery, the photo gallery, but it's been an amazingly good car for the last 10 years, and I'm really sorry to have to think about selling it.